Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Sunday prep day. This week shouldn't be too bad. I know I say that every week and then it's like almost an hour long, right? But this week, I promise you, shouldn't be too bad. For breakfast prep this week, I'm just doing Canadian bacon, egg, and cheese muffins, so those should be quick. For lunch, I'm doing ground beef hash. I actually made this for a dinner a few weeks back and I really liked it and I thought it would be a good one to have for lunch prep. And then for dinners, I'm just gonna be pre-packaging a couple recipes, just a couple dinners because I actually didn't use one of the dinners from last week, so I'm going to be using that this week. So if you're new, welcome. I am currently following the WW Blue program. However, my meal preps are geared toward anyone. If you are on WW, which is Weight Watchers, I want to say that on my recipes, I do include the points for all three programs. So I don't, just because I'm following Blue today, I may change that at any point, so I always want to make sure that I have the points for everybody. And on my recipes, I also include the nutritional value. So if you're not doing WW and you just want to know the calories, the carbs, the fat, things like that, then that will be listed as well. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe. Make sure to click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're notified anytime I upload new content. So if you guys want to see how I meal prep breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for my husband and I for the week, then stay with me. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Christy, and I'm planning us healthy. Alright guys, so I am getting started. I'm actually working on the hash for the lunch right now. So what I did is I actually already cooked my eggs. Normally when I make the egg muffins, I do them in the microwave and I just microwave one egg in a bowl and use it that way for the muffins. But this time I just went ahead and cooked up 6 eggs and I'll just portion it out myself. And I have already cooked up my ground beef. The recipe on the website is actually for 4 servings, but I'm making 6 servings. So I'm going to give you the ingredients for 6 servings. But if you print out the recipe on my website, it is 4 servings. So I have in here 1.5 pounds of ground beef. And for the points, you want to use the 96%. If you watch me, you know that when I make ground beef this way, I use, actually this was 90% lean ground beef. And what I do is just rinse it out in water to make it extra lean. So I've already cooked that, and now I'm going to cut up an onion. And I'm probably going to use maybe 1.5 onions. It's actually calls for 1 onion for the 4 servings, so I think this is a pretty small onion, so I think I'm going to use 1.5. And just put everything in the slow cooker bowl. I'm actually using my smaller slow cooker for this one. And put your ground beef in there. And I'm going to get the rest of the onion cut up. And I'm going to cut the celery up as well. So after that, just put everything in the crock pot. Now we are going to weigh out our hash browns. I'm using the Season's Choice hash browns from Aldi. These are low point, and the Great Value seasoned shredded hash browns are also a good option. So let me just use this. So for the 6 servings, I'm going to use 18 ounces. If I was just using the 4 servings, then I would use 12 ounces. So 18 ounces, put that in the crock pot. I guess I should have used my bigger one. And then some salt and pepper. And 1 cup of beef broth. I'm actually using the low sodium beef broth. Actually, 1.5 cups of beef broth for the 6. So 1 cup for, if you're doing 4 servings, 1.5 for 6. The last thing we want to put in there is, for the 4, we want 3 tablespoons of onion soup mix. So I'm going to do 4.5 tablespoons, and actually, I don't even think I have that much in here, so I'm just going to pour it all in there. I have enough onion in there, so that's okay. Okay, now just try to stir it up a little bit, mix it together. And this is pretty versatile. You could add some other vegetables to it if you want. I actually may serve another vegetable on the side. I'm going to see. Or this is great with eggs. If you want to make it with eggs, that would be, you know what? This would be a really good breakfast, you guys. I just thought of that. This would be a great breakfast prep. So you would have this, and then you could have some eggs with it. That's a thought. So this is so versatile. You can have it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Okay, now after you stir it up, the only thing that's left for it is cheese. I'm going to use the Velveeta shreds over the top of it. But we just use, it's actually 1/2 cup for the 4 servings. It's just 1/8 of a cup over each serving. So what I usually do is just wait, and when I serve it on my plate, I measure out 1/8 of a cup and just sprinkle it over top. So that's what I'll do after it's done. Now we're going to cook it on low for 6 to 8 hours. So that's why we need to make sure to get this going early so that it can be done early. I'm actually going to be, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that going. I'm going to put together the eggs and the dinners, and then what I'll have to do is just come back later when it's done. This is something you can, one of the ones I did as a freezer meal. So at this point, instead of putting it in here, you could lay it in a big freezer bag and just lay it out, get the air out, put it in the freezer, and then the day that you're ready to make it, you just dump it in your crock pot. So I'm going to put it on low and let that cook, and then I'll start on the breakfast sandwiches. Okay, so I forgot to tell you, for the hash, it is 6 points for blue and green, and 4 points for purple. So the purple is 4 points because of the potatoes. Those potatoes are actually 0 points. You have to watch. Some of the store-bought potatoes on purple are not 0 points, but those ones I did scan, and those ones do scan out at 0 points. All right, so what I'm doing for my English muffins, if I'm doing these for meal prep, I don't toast these. I just put them together like this, and they actually taste really good. So that's going to be a preference for you. If I were to make these right now, like for us to eat right now, I would toast them, but I'm not going to toast them since I'm doing meal prep. The ones that I use are Thomas's high fiber English muffins. These are the ones that are 3 points. I know some of you have stores that you can get 2-point muffins. Unfortunately, I don't have 2-point ones here, so these work just as good. So what I have done is I have 6 sheets of aluminum foil here. I really need to invest in those aluminum foil sheets. And then I have 6 pieces of paper towels here that I just have dampened, and I just find that it just helps. Sometimes the English muffins, when you microwave them, they can get a little bit hard. Not so much like this, but especially if you toast them first. So wrapping them in a damp paper towel has seemed to help. Now, whether I have to do it without toasting them, I don't know. It's just something I do. All right, so I actually kicked the hash up to high. I'm going to cook it on high for an hour. Since the ground beef is already cooked anyways, I don't think it's going to take that long. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since I didn't make these in the microwave, I am going to weigh them out in grams. So I pretty much weigh everything in grams when I weigh stuff. It just comes out a lot better that way. So I'm going to weigh the whole entire thing of eggs. And it is going to come out to right about 300 grams. So my eggs are just eggs. I just used water in them to cook them. So there's not going to be any points on the eggs unless you are on the green program. So for these muffins, it is going to be, I got all my little notes down. For the muffins, it is 5 points for blue, 5 points for purple, 7 points for green. So 300 grams, so I'm going to be putting 50 grams on each muffin. So what I'm going to do is just spray the muffins with spray butter. We like to have mustard on ours, just gives it a little bit of zip. You can definitely leave that out. I am using Canadian bacon. This Canadian bacon is actually 1 point for 3 slices, but I'm just going to use 2. Even though it wouldn't increase the points, I'm just going to use 2 for it. And weigh out the 50 grams. When you do it in the microwave, it's real easy because it all stays together in one thing. So the tricky part of this is not having the egg fall off. There we go. And the last thing I'm putting on is 1 slice. This is Velveeta slices, and these are 1 point per slice. And what I usually do is just tuck the corners so they don't hang out. And that way when you reheat it, or when you heat it in the microwave, it doesn't ooze cheese all over. Actually, let's do it this way. All right. And something you can also do is you can freeze these at this point if you wanted. But I'm not going to be freezing them. I'm just going to put them in my fridge. So then wrap it up in your paper towel, wrap it in the aluminum foil, and then when I heat them, I usually heat it for a minute and then I flip it, and then usually heat it for like 30 more seconds more. It depends. My home microwave is different than my work microwave, so definitely just keep an eye on it. Make sure that you're not overcooking it. Okay, so I'm going to put the rest of these together. And then after that, I will move on to the dinner. So you guys, I told you this isn't going to take as long today. Okay, so that is it. That is all you do with these. So like I said, you could make a bunch of these ahead of time, throw them right in your freezer, and then just take them out of your freezer. You can actually cook them from frozen. And also, when I reheat these, obviously I take them out of the aluminum foil, and then I just leave them in the paper towel to heat them up. Okay, so now I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and then we are already moving on to dinners. And I only have 3 of those to do, and one of them is actually already partly done. All right, so now we are moving on to dinner. So I kind of have everything ready. If you're new to my channel, for my dinners, I'm basically just pre-packaging everything. I'm weighing the amounts that I need, just kind of putting enough for the 2 servings for my husband and I. For breakfast and lunch, I do 3 servings each. So I'm cooking for my husband and I. So I make a total of 6 servings for breakfast and 6 servings for lunch. And then we each have 3, usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sometimes we may have something come up on Monday or Tuesday or one of those days and have to bump one of them to Thursday. So that's why I do it that way, just in case something happens. And then the other 2 mornings, we usually do yogurt for breakfast, or I usually have 501 cereal. So for dinners, basically all I'm doing is portioning out for the 2 of us for our dinners. And I'm just throwing the produce in the bag. I'm not washing it or anything. I'll do all that the night. So it's kind of like a meal delivery service. So actually I'm going to start with the one from last week. So last week I was going to do Philly style Hasselback chicken, Love this recipe. It's basically just Hasselback chicken, which means you're cutting little slits in it, and it's got onions and peppers and provolone cheese in it. So this was on my menu for last week, and something happened, something came up in the week, as it always does, and we had to bump it. So this was the one that I chose to take out. So what I did is took my chicken and I put it in the freezer, and the vegetables are still really good. I mean, you can see there is nothing. I knew these vegetables would last, so this was the meal that I chose to bump to this week. Okay, so I'm just putting everything in the bag. This is actually still frozen. I just took it out of my fridge, but that's perfectly fine. So I'll put that in there. The other thing I'm having with it is Brussels sprouts. These are just frozen Brussels sprouts, so I won't put those in there. And the other thing I'm going to use is 4 slices of ultra thin Sargento cheese. This was not in the bag already because I actually didn't have it last week. I had to pick it up. So I'm just going to take 4 slices out and put it in a little baggie. So this just saves a little bit of time when I get home from work throughout the week. When I get home, whichever night or whatever we're having that night, I'll just pull it out of the fridge. Everything's already portioned out and ready to go. And I marinate the chicken in light Italian Olive Garden dressing the night before. So that's it for that one. So that one was super easy because it was already pretty much done. And the points on this, almost forgot, the points on the Philly style Hasselback chicken, the Brussels sprouts are 0. So the only points that it's going to be is for the chicken, which is 4 points for blue, 4 points for purple, and 7 points for green. Okay, the next night, actually not the next night, the first night, I just did that one out of the way. So tomorrow night, on Monday nights, I always have salmon. So I'm going to do broccoli as the side and rice. And I just used the 90-second ready rice, long grain and wild. This is 3 points for half a cup or 5 points for a cup. So I'm just going to throw some broccoli in the bottom of the bag. We like a lot of broccoli with ours. So this is going to be garlic Parmesan-crusted salmon. So what I have is I'm going to be using 1 pound of salmon. This I'm actually making enough for 3 servings. When I make salmon, I make 3 servings. I always make an extra serving. So I've got 1 pound of salmon, and then I have in this bag is 1/8 of a cup of whole wheat panko breadcrumbs, 1/8 of a cup of Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, and 1/8 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. So that is in there. The other thing that I use for this is 1 tablespoon of butter and some garlic. Maybe about a tablespoon of garlic. I'll have all the recipes for these down in the description box below. So, because I'm not going to put the butter or the garlic in here, I'll do that the night that I make tomorrow night. So I'm just putting the topping in there. So for the salmon and the topping, on blue and purple, it's 2 points because salmon is 0. But you guys, on green, it's 10 points. All right, so I'm just putting the salmon in the bag, and then the topping will go in the bag. And then, like I said, I'm just gonna have the rice with it on the side. I don't necessarily keep that in my fridge. I'm just putting it in here for you guys to see what I'm having with it. I've actually left it in the bag before, and it's fine, but it doesn't have to go in the fridge. All right, so that is that one. So this is actually going to be the total with everything, with the rice. The broccoli is going to be 0. The rice is 3 points for half a cup. So my total dinner on this will be 5 points. If you're on blue or purple, it's going to be 5 points. And if you're on green, it's going to be 13 points. If you are on purple, this rice that I have is not the 0 point. So you can definitely replace that with one of your 0 point brown rice or something. And your points for this would drop down to 2 for the whole dinner. So if you paired it with the broccoli and brown rice, if you're on purple, 2 points for the whole dinner. Okay, that's that one. Now I'm going to move on to the last one. I'm only doing 3 this week. One night we are going to do a London broil, which my husband will cook on the grill. And Friday night we're probably going to do subs, or we may just end up going out to eat. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so the last dinner that I'm putting together tonight is sheet pan kielbasa bowls. I actually made this for a meal prep for lunch a few weeks back, actually probably a couple months back. So basically what this is just a sheet pan with kielbasa, turkey kielbasa. I use the Hillshire Farm turkey kielbasa and a bunch of vegetables and then some rice, and you just kind of make it into a bowl. So the recipe that I have out on my website is actually for 6 servings. So it's kind of hard to make 6 down into 2 because I'm using a zucchini, a squash, things like that. So what I'm going to do is just put the whole thing in the bag, and then the night that I cook it, I'll at least have all the ingredients, and I'll just determine how much I want of everything. Because to make 2 portions, I'm really not sure. So I'm just going to throw all the vegetables in there. I have actually have an orange pepper. The recipe I have calls for a red bell pepper and a yellow bell pepper for the 6. So I'm just going to use 1 orange bell pepper. Zucchini, a squash. I've got about 4 Brussels sprouts I'm going to throw in there. I'm going to throw some broccoli in there. And again, with these, I'm just kind of throwing them in, and I'll determine how much I want. The actual recipe, like I said, has a specific amount that I used for the 6 portions. And then I've got a handful of carrots I'm going to throw in there. And I've got a partial red onion. My hands are freezing. I was digging in the freezer. I have some butternut squash, frozen butternut squash that I put in it. And I was trying to check to see if I still had some. I know I have some in there. But you guys, my freezer is so full. I need to stop grocery shopping. I think in the next couple of weeks I'm going to do a freezer and pantry haul. I did that a while back because I have got to go through and see what I have. So when I decide to do that, I will film that. I don't know if I'm going to do it before Thanksgiving. I'd like to do it before Thanksgiving, but it may be after Thanksgiving. So look forward to that coming soon. So in here I have 6 ounces of the turkey kielbasa. We're going to have 3 ounces in each dish. And then I have about a half a cup of rice. We're just going to have a small amount of rice with it. Now for this one, the points on this are 6 points for all 3 programs. But if you were to use a brown rice, you'll find a lot of my recipes I don't use brown rice. I don't necessarily care for it. But in something like this, I wouldn't mind it. So if you're doing purple and you want to replace that rice with the brown rice, please go ahead and do. I don't know what it'll change on the recipe because it is such a small amount of rice in each portion. But plug it into your app and see what it does. So, but mine is based on the white rice. Actually, the recipe I have is based on the Uncle Ben's, the ready rice, but I'm going to use white rice for this one. So the other thing I'm going to throw in there is some Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning. Actually, this is generic version because we'll use that in there. So again, this one, the amounts I'm not really measuring out. I'm just kind of throwing everything together. The other things that we'll use that night will be olive oil, garlic. I don't have any fresh garlic cloves, so I'm going to be using minced garlic that I have in the jar. So I won't put that in there. And I think that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to start on snacks. I have very little to do on snacks. Okay, so for snacks this week, I'm actually just doing some vegetables. I've got carrots, celery, broccoli, a little bit of cauliflower, trying to use up my vegetables that I have. And now I am going to make the skinny ranch. I have not tried this before. I got this from Jones Pointed Plate. I'll put a link down below to the recipe. But I hear that it's really good, and it's like 1 point for 35 grams worth. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to actually use half of the recipe. The recipe she does calls for 2 packages of ranch, 1 3/4 cups of reduced fat buttermilk, and a half a cup of reduced fat mayonnaise. So I'm just going to half that. I'm just going to use 1 package. So I'm just going to use 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. And then for the reduced fat buttermilk, it's 1 3/4 cups. So I guess I'm going to use about between 3/4 and a cup. Okay. And mix that up. And then she says to refrigerate it for at least an hour before serving. So I'm super excited to try this. And so we'll use that throughout the week with the vegetables. And I've got my air fryer going in the background. So the kielbasa that I had left, I had a little bit of kielbasa. I had some broccoli left that I wanted to use up. And there was a little bit left of the beef broth that I used. So I've got the kielbasa and the broccoli and the beef broth on the stove, and I'm just throwing that together. I didn't know what we were doing for dinner tonight. And I've got some baby potatoes in the air fryer, so I'm just going to kind of throw together some baby potatoes, broccoli, and kielbasa, the rest of that kielbasa for dinner. Alright, I'm going to set that aside and put it in the fridge. And in the meantime, I am going to weigh out my pretzels. So the Snack Factory pretzels, I have these all the time. Love these. The 3 points for 28 grams, which is an ounce. I like the everything flavor, but they didn't have any. So I put that I wanted the garlic parmesan. Well, it turns out they didn't have those either. So I had to get the plain. It's better than nothing. So I usually weigh out about 4 of them, and then I stick a Laughing Cow cheese wedge in with those. Alright, and then I just toss a Laughing Cow cheese wedge in with each one. And then I just store these right in the fridge. So that's it for that. And then the other snacks that I'll be having is pudding and yogurt. I usually get that out just to show you at the end on the spread. I keep those in a little container like this, well, a big container, a container like this in my fridge. The other thing that I do is put my cereal and milk together. This is just a half a cup of unsweetened cashew milk, and this is 30 grams of original Fiber One cereal. So I just put those together, and then I take that to work with me. So that's it for the snacks. That's it for our dinners. That's it for our breakfast. Now I just have to put the lunch into the containers. It's not done yet. It's still in the crock pot. So when that's done, I will put that into containers and then come back to you. Okay, so I took a little break. It's later. It's kind of getting darker out, and I want to get this done because my lighting in here is really bad. So I apologize if the lighting is bad. All right, so, oh, this feels so good. It is cold here in Florida today. Okay, so now that my hash is done, it's actually still hot. I'm going to weigh it out so I can portion it properly into the containers. So I have this set on grams and just zero it out and then just dump this in there. And as you can see, it's still pretty hot. So I will definitely be letting this cool down before I put it in the fridge. Okay. So we have 1632. So we're going to put 272 grams into each container. So I decided to put some cucumbers in with them, so I've just got some cucumbers in a bag. So now I'm just going to measure out 272 grams in each one. I'm just gonna add a little bit more salt and pepper to them. You have to kind of taste it. This can be a little bit bland. And like I said, you could definitely add more vegetables if you wanted to. This is really supposed to be a hash. Like I said, I think I'm going to make this for a breakfast prep one week with eggs. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is put 1/8 of a cup of cheese. And I'm using Velveeta shreds. These are 2 points for 1/4 of a cup. So it's going to be 1 point for the 1/8 of a cup. So that's what we end up with for the lunch. And so again, that's going to be 6 points for blue and green and 4 points for purple. And that includes the cheese. Okay, so that's it, you guys. So now I'm going to put everything out and show you what we ended up with this week. All right, guys, so quick rundown. Snacks, 2 point puddings, 2 point yogurts, 0 point bananas. I don't know if they're going to make it. If they do, they have to be eaten tomorrow. If not, I'm going to peel them, put them in the freezer, and use them for recipes. And then I have my 4 point snacks here, 3 points for the pretzels, 1 point for the cheese wedge. And then I have Jones Skinny Ranch Dip. So again, I will remember to put the recipe down below in the description box for that. Or I'll put a link to the recipe actually. And I tried it, and it's really good. And then my vegetables, I actually just planned on a bowl of celery this week, but I ended up finding some more vegetables in the fridge that I don't want to go to waste, so I'm going to use those up. And then breakfast, 2 points for my cereal, 1/2 cup for my unsweetened cashew milk. And then our breakfast sandwiches are 5 points. Again, 5 points for blue, 5 points for purple. And 7 points, I got a cheat sheet over there. 5 points for blue, 5 points for purple, 7 points for green. And then our lunches, these turned out really good. I cannot wait to have these for lunch this week. If you don't like hash, you're probably not going to like these. And I will say that they do have a strong onion flavor. So if you don't like onion, you definitely want to back off the onion on it. So cucumbers are 0, and then the hash is 6 points for blue and 6 points for green, and then 4 points for purple because of the potatoes. So that, for me, it's going to be a 6 point lunch. And then dinners this week, Philly style Hasselback chicken with Brussels sprouts, 4 points for blue, 4 points for purple, and 7 points for green. Sheet pan kielbasa bowls, that is 6 points on all programs. And air fryer garlic Parmesan-CRUSTED salmon with wild rice and broccoli. I have that scratched out there because I actually reuse these bags if I can. I just wash them out. So this is going to be 5 points for blue, 5 points for purple, and 13 for green. So good week, another good week of prep. Alright guys, that's it. We made it through another week. If you're still with me, I appreciate it. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like this type of video. And if you're new, I hope that you consider subscribing. I hope you guys have an amazing week. I'll see you in my next video. I'm Christy, and I am planning us healthy.